Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this webinar on COVID-19 and public health data storytelling. My name is Junie Lau, and I'm Director Asia for WAN-IFRA and APAC in our Singapore office. With me today is our team, Jen, Cheryl, and Serene, who are helping out in the background. So welcome. I would like to welcome participants today from 30 over publishing companies, 12 countries. We've got participants registered from Cambodia, Fiji, Hong Kong, India, Indonesia, Japan, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Taiwan, Sri Lanka, and Vietnam. So warm welcome to everyone. Just a few housekeeping announcements before we begin. If you are watching us from your mobile phone, please try to log in from your laptop or computer, because our trainer Kuang Keng Kuek Ser is going to be sharing links to Google Drive, so you can access training notes and exercises, and so you want to be able to toggle easily and access those exercises. If you have any questions for him, of course, just pop them into the Q&A box below, or you can also just raise your hand and ask your questions verbally. One of my colleagues will quickly ask you to unmute and you can ask your question. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you now King. He's a well-known face, of course, in WAN-IFRA circles. He is based in Kuala Lumpur, of course. Kuek Ser King is a long time and an award-winning data journalist in Kuala Lumpur. He's the founder of Data N as well, a training organization that helps journalists integrate data journalism into daily reporting. And he's helped publications like Foreign Policy, BBC World Service, MediaCorp, and Malaysia Kini enhance their storytelling with data, visual, and interactive components. King is also the competition officer for the Data Journalism Awards, which later became the Sigma Awards. And these are international awards, so he has seen a wide range of work globally. Please take this opportunity as well to tap his vast experience. So I think without further ado now, I'd like to hand it over to King for today's session.
Thank you, Junie. Thank you, WAN-IFRA and Google News Initiative for organizing the workshop. This is the last sessions, the third and also the last sessions for our series of workshops on data journalism, data storytelling. So I'm going to share my screen now. Right. So today we are going to talk about data visualization. And there are four goals that I'm trying to achieve today with you all. First is, to show you how you can identify and fix problems with data viz. Data viz is just a short form of data visualization. And we're going to look at, what are some of the elements that can make an effective data viz. Then I know some of us are confused with, which chart should I use, whether it should be a bar graph or a line chart or a pie chart, right? So we are going to look at that, and I'm going to share with you some guidelines on picking charts. And last, we will use about half an hour, if you have enough time, to make a chart with Flourish. Flourish is the online visualization tool, which is free. So I would like to all of us to do this together at the end of today's sessions. Right, so what I would like to start with, what doesn't work first, okay? So I think it is very important. One of the ways for us to learn is actually learn from mistakes, right? So mistakes is actually a very good lessons for us. So let's look at some data visualization that I don't think they work, okay? So this is the first graph, right? So without looking at the numbers here, guys, don't look at the numbers here. Just look at the chart, right? The semicircle chart, right? Tell me which line is the longest? You can put that in the Q&A or put it in the chat box. Which line is the longest? Is it the darkest line or the lightest line? Or, let's say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, right? The darkest is 1 and 2, 3, 4. Which line is the longest? All right, we have Junie say 1. All right, this is the darkest one. Amira also said 1, right? So that's quite obvious, right? It's 1. But 1 is the longest, right? But if you look at a number represented by the first bar, it is actually 44%. Is it the longest? Is it the highest number? No, the highest number is actually 51, which is this one, right? But this one looks like the shortest, right? If not the shortest, but probably the second shortest, right? 51%. So this is what happened here. Well, so this is confusing, right? Because the longest one actually doesn't represent the highest number, right? So instead of showing you a straight bar chart, it is, trying to be creative about the graphics, right? And show you a semicircle bar chart. And that doesn't work in this case, right? This is confusing. So when you're not sure about which one is longest, you will look at the numbers, right? You look at the numbers and look at the chart, right? So when your readers start to look at the numbers and try to compare the numbers, right, in their head, right, which means your chart actually fails, right? Because the purpose of the chart, right, is actually to replace the numbers so that people can understand what you're trying to say through the chart, right? If your readers have to go back and read the numbers, which means your chart doesn't really work and you should redesign it, right? Okay, this is another confusing one, right? So the first impression of this graphic is that this is a map, right? This is the map of United States, right? You will see that this is Nebraska. It is supposed to be there, but it's supposed to be at the top there, right? But it's okay, right? When they make this US made map, they like to put it separate and change the location so that it's easier to see it, right? However, this is a map, and what makes it, what convinces you that this is a map is also that there are borders, right? You see there are border line, the boundary of different states. There are 50 states here, right? Okay. Then now you look at the title, Changing Face of America, percent of total US population by race and ethnicity. 1960 to 2060, about 100 years, right? So in the 1960s, you see that there are 85%, 10%, right? 85% is red color. Red color means white population. Blue is black population. There we have Hispanic, okay? In 2010, you see this number. In 2016, this number. So how do you relate this number, all these numbers, with the map? When I first looked at this, right, I thought that, oh, the white people, right, they live here. They live at the, in the middle and the southern part of the US, right? Black people tend to live here, and then Hispanic live here. I don't know why. And then Asian live, at a corner of the country, and there is a little bit of other here. Okay. Then I realized that, oh, maybe this is not a map. I shouldn't read like that. I probably should read like this, like in 1960, 85% of the population is white, 10% of population is black. But then I look at 2010, right? 64, 12, 16. Where's the Asian? Where's Asian, right? You have Asian in 1960. You have Asian in 2060. This is, of course, prediction, right? This is prediction. You have Asian here. And there's no Asian in the middle, right? So the whole thing here is actually very confusing, okay? It shows you a map, but actually it is not a map. It is actually 3 different bars. The bars shows you the composition of the population, right? But the second bar here, right, part of it has disappeared. The top of it has disappeared. So you don't see Asian here. So this is very, very confusing visualization. And the designer is trying to be creative here, right? Instead of, showing you just 3, probably he thinks that this is too boring, right? To show you just 3 bars, he then convert the bar into a map. But that is very, very confusing, right? So don't do this, okay? And mind you that this is not published by some, weird website, but this is published actually by the Nightly News with Brian Williams, right? This was a few years ago. Okay, pie charts. A lot of us like to use pie charts, probably because we learn it, in our secondary school, in our university, right? But pie chart is actually quite bad. It doesn't do a good job in delivering information. So just look at these 3 pie charts, right? Let's look at the first one here, okay? The federal government budget 2016, okay? You see that this is not just a pie chart. There's a hole inside. So sometimes people like to call it a donut chart. And you see that, there are different slices, okay? The slices, right, the color is like semi-transparent, okay? And you see not just, the size of the slice, right? It also has a height. You see, this is 3D donut chart, right? Because they have a height. All right, so now what confused me is that, what does the height means? I know this is the slice, right? This is slice means how much, how many percent, right? But what about the height? Should I also try to read the height? Okay. And you just look at some of the numbers here, right? they don't make sense as well. This one, the purple color here, you can see, is 9.1%. Okay, 9.1%, not 1.9%, sorry, should be smaller than 4.9%, right? But you look at this one, the green color here. This is obviously smaller than this, but this represents 1.9%, right? So even the number and the size of the slice, right, doesn't match, okay? So don't mind, the lessons here is that, first, don't do 3D chart. 3D chart is confusing because there's a height. The second thing is that semi-transparent chart is making it more confusing, right? Because you see that there are overlapping areas here, and this part, look at this part, right? It is very hard to read actually how many slices are here. Is it 1, 2, 3, or is it 1, 2, 3? I'm not sure, right? So don't do this kind of over design for charts. Okay, and of course the most important lesson is that make sure that your numbers are correct. The numbers that your current label each slice is correct. So let's look at the second chart here. This is again a pie chart with a hole. We call it a donut chart. This is not, it doesn't look like it is 3D, okay, but it is actually 3D. Why? Instead of a circle pie chart, right, the designer decided to tilt the chart, right? So if you can look at my video here, right, this is my hand, right? This is a 2D chart, right? When you want to make it 3D, instead of, so you will do like this, okay? You tilt your chart to the back, the top to the back, right? So the chart become like this. When the chart become like this, right, there's a new dimension, so it's become 3D, right? And the part that is nearer to you will look bigger than the part that is further from you, right? And this is exactly what happened here. So you see that the bottom part is nearer to you. It says 33.6%. The top part is further from you, so it looks smaller because it's 3D, right? And it says 35.4. Which one is bigger? 35.4 is bigger, right? But the size of the slice, which one is bigger? 33.6. Okay. So again, a very confusing chart. Okay. The next one, the last one. This is the chart to show GDP growth from 2016 to 2020, right? And it used a pie chart to tell you the GDP growth of each different year. Okay. So you add up everything, right? It doesn't get 100%. Okay, of course, because this is GDP growth for each year. And the use of pie chart here is totally wrong, right? You can see that, right? You can do a bar chart, you can do a line chart, but nobody does a pie chart, for GDP growth, right? But it was done like that, right? So my advice is always that when you want to use a pie chart, think about if there are any alternatives that you can use. For example, if those are percentage, right, you add everything up, it should be 100%. When we see that our data is, part of something, which means, the percentage, we like to use pie chart, right? Our first instinct is that, okay, we should do a pie chart. But look at this, right? This one is also percentage. You add up everything is 100%, right? However, when you use a bar chart to show the breakdown, right, isn't it much more clearer? You are able to see which one is the longest, which is the second, which is the third one. Sometimes in pie chart, right, it's very hard to differentiate the size. Okay, so you end up what? You end up reading the numbers. When you start to read the numbers, your chart fails. Your chart doesn't help to explain the numbers, right? So in this case, right, it's very clear. You can see that we will know that because you arrange it right from the highest to the lowest. So straight away, your readers will be able to see which one is higher, which one is lowest, and compare each other, right? These are all percentage. So remember that when you have percentage, it doesn't have to be pie chart. Sometimes pie chart does a very bad job, right? Sometimes bar chart is a better way of visualizing that, right? Or you can look at this. This one use a bar chart, and then this one use a bar and split it into 3 parts. And this is 64.5, 22.3, 13.2, right? Isn't it easier to understand than a pie chart? Right, now I need some of your input, yeah, right? Please put it in the chat box or the Q&A box. I'll chat both, right? So let's try to fix some charts that I show you here. Okay, what is wrong with this chart and how to fix, right? Before doing that, you should know what this chart is trying to tell. This chart shows the average number of Facebook likes on posts by pages of the political left in the UK. Okay, the point of this chart, this is very important, the point of this chart was to show the disparity between Mr. Corbyn, Jeremy Corbyn, and others, right? Want to show the disparity, which means one is very high, one is very low, right? So what is the problem with this chart? Anyone can tell me? How would you, if you are the editor, how would you fix this chart? If the point is to show the disparity between Jeremy Corbyn, I think he was the opposition leader. Okay, Fang Kai say that should not truncate the 5,210 to show the full extent of the disparity. Yeah, I think Fang Kai is right? Because if the point is to show the disparity, right, to show the difference between Jeremy Corbyn and others, right, then you should use the full scale, right? Don't truncate it. Don't cut it and try to shorten it because probably you don't have enough space or things like that, right? But show the actual scale. And this people will see, oh, the difference is huge, right? You see, Jeremy Corbyn compared with others. But here, it doesn't really show you the difference, right? You have to read the numbers and you have to do the calculation. So remember, when the readers start to look at numbers and do the calculation and do the comparison by themselves in their heads, right, then your design failed. You should redesign it. Okay, another one. This is more complicated. Okay. So you can see that this is a very cluttered chart, right? A lot of things going on. So Brazil's golden OD blowout, right? You will see that this is the government spending on pension benefits percent of GDP, okay? This scale, this axis, and the other axis is population aged 65 years and over, right? Which means that the more it is to the right-hand side, the country has more aging population, okay? This one is the more you go up, right, the countries spend more in terms of pension benefits, okay? What's the purpose of this chart? The chart compares government spending on pension benefits with the share of people aged 65 for a selection of countries, with a particular focus on Brazil, okay? It wants to focus on Brazil, so Brazil is bolded here, okay? To keep the chart small, the visualizer only labeled a selection of countries and highlighted those in electric blue. The OECD average is highlighted in pale blue. Okay, this is OECD average, right? And the designer only labeled some countries, right? In I think it is electric blue. This is a lighter blue, right? And those darker blues, right, they are not labeled. So the colors, the difference of colors here is meaning that this is labeled, this is not labeled. All right, guys, how would you fix this? Okay, Fang Kai has a good suggestion. Remove unlabeled dots because they are meaningless. Okay. Pei Yusin say that I'll space them out first. Space them out, but they are all arranged according to the scale, right? How do you space them out? What do you mean? Do you just make the scale? Did you just make the graphic larger? Michelle say that use different color legend for Brazil. Okay, because you want to highlight Brazil, right? So you use a different color. Okay, I think makes sense. Okay, if there's no more suggestions, let's look at the answer. This is not like perfect, yeah. This is just better. Okay, you can see that what have it been done, right? So just now Fong Kai mentioned that we should just remove those other dots because those are meaningless, right? But I think there are some meanings here because they want to show Brazil compared with all other countries because Brazil is an outlier, right? Outlier means that it is very different from other countries, right? It has a high government spending on pension benefits. At the same time, it has very low aging population, okay? And you look at here, what they change is that, right? it makes those dark colors, blue dots, right, to become more opaque and less obvious, but they're still in the background, right? They're still in the background because they want to show you, like most of the countries, right, they actually follow a straight line here, okay? Follow a straight line here, which means that you spend more when you have more aging population, which makes sense, right? So, and then Brazil, they keep the bolded label. And the other thing is that they actually remove the label here, okay, to put it here, so that the graphic can take a much larger space, right? And you'll see it more clearly. So this is this is just like what one of you have suggested, right, to space it out, right? But you can't really space it out because they still have to follow the scale. So in this case, probably you remove the label to put it at the top, so you have, you know, a bigger width to have your visualization, right? But you can see that, you know, those other countries, they are not labeled, they are still there, right? Because this is to show you that, you know, not just OECD countries, but other countries also follow this line, right? The outliers are Brazil, Turkey, and Mexico. Okay, so let's fix another chart. This one is not that hard. The chart above shows the United States trade deficit in goods and the number of people employed in manufacturing. So there are two lines here, okay? And each line represents different data. How would you fix this? Okay, Tian Tian say that, can we split the graph and flip the trade deficit graph around? Trade deficit is the brown color, right? Flip it around means that instead of 0 to 400, you want to go up, right, that different direction, and to split this into two graphs. Okay, so that the trade deficit doesn't go down but increase. You can see it's going up, right? Yeah, okay, that's a good idea, Tian Tian. What's the meaning of the half red, half white line? I don't know. that's another problem, right? This is another issue, right? What does this line mean? I have no idea, man. This is like 1990 to probably this is like 2005. And after that, I don't know why this is white color, this is red color. Yeah, this is another problem. Okay, let's look at the answer. I think Tian Tian said it right. You know, you can split it into two charts, which is a much better choice. Okay, because, you know, if you put them in the same chart, you have to use two different scale, right? And this is confusing, right? So when you're reading the blue line, you try to look at this scale. You read the brown line, you try and look at this scale, and then the other thing is that, you know, you see that the scale has different direction. The blue scale is going up, is increasing, right? 0, 5, 10, 15, 20. But the brown color scale going up is smaller, right? 403 to 100, 0, right? Going up. So they are going different directions, right? So it's very hard for us to figure out what is the relationship between the manufacturing, employment, and the trade deficit, right? What is it trying to show me here, right? So it's very confusing. You need to process a lot of different parts for you to put the picture together to understand it, right? But if you, and of course, plus the red line here, I don't know what is that, right? So look at the solutions here, right? If you split it into two charts, right? One showing trade deficit, the other showing manufacturing employment, right? And both scales are on the same direction now, right? Going down is less, going down is less, right? Going down is less. So to 20 to 0, from 0 to negative, 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 right? So in this case, we are able to figure out the relationship. Here, basically, is showing that when the trade deficit with China, right, increase, or in this case, right, become bigger, here going down, right, your manufacturing employment also went down. So this is the relationship between the two, right? Free markets and free workers. Okay. So this one is a hard one. This is a story about how scientific publishing is dominated by men. So you have a look at this chart and let me know, how would you fix it? This is actually this practice is actually quite, you will learn a lot from this kind of practice, because then you're able to, design better chart, right? You now know all these different mistakes, so you're able to design better charts by learning from all these mistakes. Anyone have any suggestions? Okay, Bhavani say that the chart is too busy with a number of variables in one chart. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 variables in one chart. Yeah, probably I think there are too many data points in this chart. Any other thing? Does it achieve the purpose of telling you that, oh, the scientific publishing is dominated by men? Does it give you that information? Is it effective? Yeah, Bhavani said did not achieve this purpose. Niti Farhana said that the number of men is not there. Yeah, I mean, this is a kind of a hard question, right? This shows the percentage of women, right? The rest are men, okay? Because again, this is using binary, right? Men or women, right? There's no third gender or anything. So when you see that this is women, then the rest are men. I think the problem here is that because it is only showing the women percentage, right? And the scale is until 60, right? So but if you don't read the numbers carefully, right, it shows it is like the women are having very high percentage of publishing here, right? Because the scale is from 0 to 60, and many of those publications are close to 60, right? So you thought that it gives you the impression that, oh, it's actually a lot, right? It's not very little, what? Michelle said that it is confusing. The title says it's a man world, but the subtext outline, these are with the women researchers with papers published. Yeah. So am I looking at the data of men or women, which is correct? Yeah. If this is a man's world, shouldn't you show data of men, right? If you're showing data about women, shouldn't you change the title to say that women is still minority, or don't use like confusing title and data point, right? And the other problem is that Bhavani has pointed out that there are too many data points here. Okay, you thought that you're trying to compare between different types of research papers, right? And then there's also the 50% of red line here. This doesn't really help as well. Okay, right. So what is the solution? I don't have a solution. I don't know how to fix it, right? But this is actually not from me. So just to explain this, right? All these charts, right? All the charts, right, on the left, the charts with mistake, right, have been published. Okay, published by The Economist. Okay, after they published this, they regret. They thought that, oh, this is actually a bad chart, right? If we were to republish again, this would be the our preferred version. Okay, but the one that really got published is on the left. The right is the afterthought. Okay, and they collect all these different charts in the article here. You can access the article when I share with you the slides for today, right? So you can look at articles. I think the articles have more charts than this. I just picked like 4 of them. Okay, and this one they say they don't have any good solution for this, right? So this is a very interesting article. They admitted their mistakes and they try to fix them and use that as a lessons to share with everyone. Okay, right. So let's look at, just now we look at what's wrong, what are the problems with those charts, right? And from those mistakes, right, we should be able to draw some conclusion, right? Here, for me, I like to quote Alberto Cairo, who is a guru in data journalism. He said that a good data visualization should be based on good data. This is the first thing. Your data have to be accurate. Okay, it should attract attention. Yes, right. You do graphic, you do visual because you want to attract attention, and usually graphic is more attractive than just numbers. Okay. However, when you attract attention of your readers, right, you don't frustrate your readers. Frustrates here means that there are several problems. Probably is confusing. we saw a lot of examples already. Maybe there are too many data points. Maybe it's too busy, right? The graphic is too busy. All those different problems, right, will frustrate the readers. The last one is show the right amount of data. This is quite hard. This is just like we are writing a story, right? You did an interview for 1 hour. Are you going to publish the whole interview? No, nobody is going to read all the interviews, right? So you have to pick and choose what are the important content that you want to publish. It is the same with data visualization, right? You have a lot of data, but you don't have to show everything to your readers, right? You just show the right amount of data, the data that is able to help you to deliver your message. So you have to be very careful about what is the single most important message that you want to deliver using your data visualization. And you use the colors, the design, the data to emphasize that, all right? So let's look at this chart. This chart has very careful consideration behind it. The title tells you that this is the top 10 countries by total medal count in the Sochi Winter Olympics 2040. It lists out 10 countries, okay? And you'll see that it used the color to highlight United States and shows you that United States has 28 medals. For other countries, they don't even bother to label the numbers, right? And they use all the same color, but different tones, right? And they highlight the US. Why? Obviously, their target audience is US, right? So they just want to tell their readers that US is currently number 2 after Russia, and we got 28. If you care about the rest of the countries, here are they, right? You can see them, right? But we just want to tell you that the United States is 28 medal at number 2, right? So they make an editorial decision to omit the other data just to show you this country, right? So it is a very careful consideration, right? Instead of labeling all different bars or using different countries for all different, using different colors for all different countries, which we like to do a lot, right? If we have 5 bars, we use 5 colors. If we have 10 bars, we use 10 colors, right? Actually, using the same color with different tones actually helps you to draw attention. So when the readers look at this visualization, right, straight away they would focus on United States because the color is slightly different from others, right? So this is how you can use color to draw the attention of your readers to the point where you want to deliver, okay? Yep, see how a 3D pie chart is simplified, okay? Now it's become 2D. Instead of a pie chart, it is going to convert this into a bar chart. Because bar chart is much more clearer here, right? So you compare before and after. This is before and after. Which one is clearer? After is clearer, right? And it highlights bacon. So let's look at another example. Again, it only used one color to highlight bacon because the graphics just want to tell you about bacon. And remove all those special effects, right? The 3D, the shadow, you know. So again, before and after. Before and after. After looks more professional, right? You know, cleaner, simple, you know, easy to read. Okay, right. So some of the considerations that you should put in before you design a visualizations, you know, these are some of them, right? First, understand your target audience. Understand their data literacy, right? Do they know how to read the charts that you are going to use, right? So I always prefer to use line charts, bar charts, you know, because those are the most common charts that most people know how to read, right? there are actually many other charts out there, right? So sometimes if you want to use some more complicated charts, probably, charts used by scientists, you have to make sure that your target audience is able to understand them. Or you have to make sure that, you provide enough explanation for them to understand the chart, okay? The second is the most important, the message. What is the most important message that you want to deliver through your charts, right? Or usually just pick one or two messages, right? Don't try to deliver everything in a single chart. If you have a lot of message you want to deliver, right, probably split them out, right? Make it, make 2 charts or 3 charts, right? Don't have to, because there's no, you can use caption to help to explain the chart, but there's no one there, beside them, trying to explain the chart to them, right? So you have to carefully use the colors, the label, right, to draw their attention to the message that you want to deliver, right? The other things that you should consider are platforms, so whether you want to, print it as a poster, as a graphic in a story, on websites, or just want to show it, share it on social media, like Instagram posts, right, which is a very very image heavy, very image dominated, right? And resources, do you have access to a designer, or you want to make a video with charts? Do you have a video producer? Do you have programmers to help you to make charts and things like that? Okay, so these are some of the things that you should consider before you design a data visualization. Right, the next part that we're going to cover, probably for another 15 minutes, is to go through which chart for what data. Okay, you look at here, right? These are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 12. There are 60 different charts here, and this is not all the charts in the world. There are many more charts in this world, right? So how do you pick a chart that works for your data? Okay, it really depends on what you are trying to show using your data, right? Your data as well as what you are going to show will determine what charts you should use, right? 99% of the time, right? This is of course, this is not a very scientific calculation, right? These are the charts that you will need, okay? You don't have to go beyond that, okay? So I'll go through all these different charts very quickly. Why I picked this chart is because this is some of the most common charts that people know how to read. So you don't have to explain to people, all the different charts, right? And these are some of the charts that are very easy to make, okay, using some tools out there. First is bar chart, right? We all know bar charts. It is to show comparison of categories. The tips, right? The tips is that try to sort it from longest to shortest, so that it's easy to make comparison, all right? And the y-axis should always start with 0, okay? Don't cut it, don't shorten it, all right? And for mobile screen, right, if you are publishing on mobile, right, mobile is better for horizontal bar, okay? Because when you have many bars, right, but you want to make vertical bar chart, right, and you have many bars, right, you might have to squeeze the graphics, in mobile screen, right? But if you're doing horizontal chart, right, you can make it longer because your readers are able to scroll up and down, right? Okay, so it is horizontal is better for mobile screen. The second most common chart is, of course, line charts. Line chart shows changes or trend over time. Okay, and you can also do comparison by using more than one line. Tips, easier to understand. Maximum 4 lines, avoid spaghetti chart. Spaghetti chart is like chart with 50 lines, right? Which is very confusing. If there are too many lines, another alternative is actually to gray out less important ones, right? So you make them gray and you just highlight 1 or 2 lines so that the attention is drawn to the lines that have been highlighted. You can also use multiple mini charts, right? So let's say you have several lines to show, you can split them into 5 different mini charts, all line charts, right? We'll try that later with our exercise today. No dual axis, yeah? Just now we look at the manufacturing, employment, and the deficit with China, right? Remember that chart has 2 different scales, 2 lines using different scales, right? Don't do that. Heat map. Heat map is to show general pattern, right? it doesn't give you accurate comparison because it is using colors. Okay, it uses colors to represent values. When you use colors to represent values, right, it is very hard for people to estimate the accurate values because, you know, it is very hard to compare colors. If I show you like this one is like orange color with a light yellow. I ask you, you know, how much is the difference between them? You cannot tell me, right? Because it's very hard to read which one is more orangish, which one is more yellowish, right? But if you use a bar chart, you can you can estimate the values very accurate, right? You know that this is about, you know, double the size, double the height or the length of the bar. But for colors, it's very hard to do that, okay? This is an alternative to line graph when you have too many lines, right? So you can see this is the cases of measles in the US, right? Because US have 50 states, right? So if you want to draw a line, you have 50 different lines, right? 50 different lines. So in that case, we can use a heat map, right, to show the pattern, right? The pattern here is that after vaccination was introduced in the 1960s, right, you will see that the number of cases of measles almost diminished here, okay? It is almost gone, right? So it wants you to show the before and after effect for all 50 states, right? But it doesn't want to use a line chart because line chart will give us 50 different lines, which is it becomes a spaghetti chart, right? It becomes very confusing, very busy, very cluttered. So in this case, it used a heat map. Choropleth map. Choropleth map is some of the most common maps that we use when we are using when we're doing election result, right? Election result, or we want to compare different, you know, geographical areas in a country. Okay, so again it used different colors to represent values. So again, when you use colors to represent values, right, it is very hard to estimate the values accurately, right? Okay, you will know that this is, you know, darker than another color, but how much darker is very hard. It is also very hard to like match the color here with the legend here. Okay, remember that. Okay, so I ask you that, okay, this is 40 or 50, 40 or 50, right? Sometimes you are not very sure because the colors are very near to each other, right? So it is good to show you a general pattern or comparison, but not accurate comparison, okay? The tips here is that larger areas appears more emphasized. Sometimes, you know, larger area doesn't mean that there are a lot of people there, right? But because it looks very big on the map, it gives you the wrong impression. For example, when we talk about Southeast Asia, right? If we want to plot the income per capita, right? Singapore is actually the highest in the region, right? But because Singapore is very small, right? So when you plot the map, right, you don't see Singapore. And you see Indonesia, you see Philippines. Those are the biggest, you know, some of the biggest countries, right? So in that case, right, it might give you the impression that, oh, you know, most areas in the Southeast Asia are actually, you know, have this income per capita. But actually, Singapore has high population, right? And also high income per capita, but we don't see that on the map, right? Because it's very small. So be careful about that, right? When an area is very, very huge, but actually the area is not very important, right? Or an area is very small, but it is very important, but it doesn't show on the map. So you might want to change the format of the map to change it to a honeycomb hex tile map, right? Pie chart is one of the most common charts that people use, right? It is to show a quick view of distribution. However, this is not for accurate comparison because it's very hard for you to compare. Let's say here are two slices, right? One is 26, one is 25. I show you the number here, so you know that this is bigger than this one, right? But if you don't look at the numbers, right, you just look at the size. It's very hard for you to estimate which one is bigger, right? And bigger by how much, right? So this is very different when you use bar chart. Bar chart gives you very clear difference. Even if there's a 1% difference, okay, you still can see it here, right? Okay, but pie chart doesn't give you that accurate comparison, okay? So So tips here, remember total must be 100%, okay? Don't make that mistakes. Don't put too many slices. Too many slices become very hard to read, okay? And pick color, because color can make a slice look bigger, okay? And usually bar chart is a better choice, right? So convert it into bar chart might be more helpful for your readers. Network diagram, right? This is another types of data visualization when we want to visualize connection among people or organizations or other types of entities, right? So you want to know, let's say this is actually a chart from the Panama Papers. It shows how King Solomon of the Saudi Arabia, how he's linked to many different countries, many different companies, okay? So this is usually not very recommended for mobile screen, because mobile screen is small, is already very small, right? So if you put a complicated network diagram in a mobile screen, it's actually very hard to navigate, okay? Scatter plot. We like to use this when if you're studying like science, you're doing engineering in your college or in your secondary schools, right? We like to use this. We like to use this chart because we want to show the relationship between two different variables, right? However, many people actually don't understand the chart, right? My experience is that when I publish it, many people don't understand the chart, right? And they don't understand it, right? If they are in the line, what does that mean? If they are not in the line, then what does that mean? Okay, so if you want to use this format, you make sure that you explain it well and people can understand it, all right? Here are two tools that can help you to choose chart, right? I developed a PDF file, a very simple one. And there's also a website that helps you to choose chart. So let me just show you very quickly. This is the PDF that I developed, right? So you start from here, which chart to use, right? I'll give an example. Then you follow, you want to go here, I want to go here. You want to show a trend, you go here. You want to show a parts of a whole, you go here, right? And then for trend, you want to compare categories, you go here. If you want to compare over time, then you go here. And these are the different formats that you can use. Okay, this is a very simplified version, right? If you want to have more choices of charts, right, you can use this website. It's called From Data to Vis. So you can start here. You see, number, categoric. So numeric. These are, if you have one numeric number, these are some of the chart you can use. You have two, you want to have not ordered or ordered, there are different charts here. But be careful when choosing the charts here. Some of the charts are very complicated, right? Let's say box plot. Not many people understand what is a box plot, right? So if you choose to use this chart, then be careful, right? There's also something called violin plot, right? So it doesn't really tell you like which one, actually people understand better, right? So you have to make your own judgment here, right? It only shows you all the different choices here, right? Oops. This one, there's a link for you to try this quiz. Let me see if I have enough time. Yep, I think we have enough time. So let's do this quiz very quickly. After you play this quiz, probably it'll take you about 5 minutes, and then we'll do a short discussion about it. Let me just open it up. I don't have the let me see. Hold on, guys. It's called Science of Charts. Yeah, I will give you the URL, right? However, if you can't open up, it has a paywall, then you can try to Google it and click inside. If I Google and click inside, I think I will be, oh no, I can't play it. Yeah, probably you can play it. I think FT recognized my IP and doesn't allow me to read more of the articles. Or you try to search for on Google the science behind good charts. It's a quiz. It'll take you about 5 minutes. All right, time's up. So we're going to move with the next thing. But just for those who have who are able to access the quiz, right? By playing the quiz, you will understand one thing that, our brain works differently when it comes to different shapes, right? It is very easy to estimate the length of a bar, okay? But it is very hard to estimate the size of a pie chart slice, right? Or a 3D sphere, correct? Right? What we call we can call this as hierarchy of data vis elements, which means we are able to more accurately, right, estimates the values represented by the bars, right? But as we go from this kind of visual elements, right, to here, right, it becomes harder and harder for our brain to estimate the values represented, accurately. So that's why when we use bar chart, right, bar charts helps our readers to understand the data, to make comparison very accurate, right? And a line bar chart, right, means that they all start from the same line, right? This is actually the best, right? Even if there's a slight difference, you're able to see it, right? If you can even make comparison, for example, the third bar is probably double the size of, the second bar, right? But if they're not aligned, right, they are moving, right? Both, they don't have a starting point. It's getting harder for us to do comparison. If you go lower, right, you will see that slope angle. Angle means you are using the pie chart. Pie charts, you are using the angle of each slice, right, to compare the different values, right? And that is the different. And then we have area, volume. Volume is 3D. There are 3 dimensions that you have to estimate, right? And it's getting harder. The hardest is actually color. Just now I showed you, right? How do you compare the orange and yellow? And tell me what is the difference between them? Which one is more orange? Which one is more yellowish? By how many times, right? So this, when you pick elements, right? Think about this, right? If you want your readers to very accurately estimate the values, then you go for a bar chart. If you just want to show a general pattern, right, that doesn't require very accurate estimation, okay, then probably you can go for colors. All right. So that is what the lessons tell us from the quiz. Right. How to choose colors? I'll go through this very quickly. There are 3 color palettes when you're using data visualization. Right. One is called diverging. Diverging means that there are 2 opposite ends, right? 2 opposite ends. For example, when we are trying to use colors to represent the votes in an election by 2 different parties, 2 different rival parties, right? So probably you use a red color for party A, you use a blue color for party B, right? So you have 2 ends, right? Whether this party get more votes or this party get more votes, right? They have 2 ends, right? Probably you calculate the percentage, right? Sequential means from 0 to maximum. So it's one direction, right? Just now diverging have 2 ends. Sequential only have 1 end, right? Starting from 0 to the maximum. We use this to represent, for example, COVID-19 case, right? From no case to a lot of case, right? So that's sequential. And you can see that the colors usually, from the lightest tone to the darkest tone, okay? But diverging usually, it swings between 2 different colors, okay? And qualitative means, right, colors that are very distinct to each other. It is very easy to see the difference, right? So they don't follow tones, right? They try to differentiate with more from each other, okay? So qualitative is good when you want to use color to represent different values, right? Different categories. Let's say this is apple, orange, this is dengue, and another type of flu, things like that, right? Different categories, right? You want to use very different colors, so you use qualitative. So why do we need to know these 3 color palettes? Because there are tools out there that we can use that help us to choose color. So I'm going to show you the tool. I'll skip this. One of the tools is called Color Brewer tool. Okay, this is Color Brewer tool. You can see here, right? It is very useful for you to pick colors from maps, but you can also use the colors for when you want to do bar charts and other types of data visualization. So you can see here, there are 3 different categories: sequential, diverging, and qualitative. The first one is to choose how many colors you need. Let's say I need 5 colors. Okay, I want qualitative colors. I have 5 different categories, right? They are different from each other, right? So I want to pick colors. So you can pick a different color scheme. Okay. Once you pick the color schemes, the 5 colors are here. So how do you pick the colors, right? In computer, right? In online publishing, we use this. We call it a hex code. There are 6 characters here, right? Alphanumeric that you can that will code the color. Okay, so this represents this color and this represents this blue color, right? So when you want to use this color, then you just pick this hex code and then put this code into your data visualization tool that I will show you later, the Flourish. Okay, so if you want to go for sequential, I means, just now I show you is from 0 to maximum. So you can see that it's from the lightest green to the darkest green, right? You can also choose, for example, red, or you want to choose yellow to red, right? Okay. Diverging means there are 2 ends, right? So diverging users, and now you'll see the difference, right? The diverging colors, right? From red to green, right? But in the middle, you will pass like orange and yellow, right? But again, this is like 2 different, two ends of the spectrum. Okay, so this is very helpful. Color Brewer tool to help you to choose colors. The next is we'll use another 20 minutes to make a chart using a Flourish, right? So guys, please go to Flourish, register a free account. Okay, now it will take you 1 or 2 minutes to just register an account if you don't have one. If you scroll to the end, right, just to show you that there's a option here says newsroom. Okay, newsroom. If you click on newsroom, Flourish offer newsrooms free upgraded account, right? Which means you'll be able to use more features, right? But it is free, right? It is for newsroom. I think it is supported by Google News Initiative. So you can apply for newsroom access, okay? And you just have to fill up a form, and you will get access if you are working in a newsroom, right? But before that, check with your editors, check with your colleagues first, to see if your newsrooms already have access to Flourish. If yes, then just get the login details from them so that you can use the company account for Flourish, right? If not, just register a free account. For the purpose for today, we'll just register a free account, okay? So when you register an account, right, you sign into your account, you log in, you should see something like this, okay? But for yours, right, here will be empty because there's no visualization yet, right? I've created many visualizations, as you can see here, right? So all of them will be kept in your Flourish account. So when you want to pick a new visualizations, right? You want to start a new visualization, you click new visualizations. Okay. And you see that there are many templates that you can use. They're called templates, right? So the reason I like Flourish is because, of course, it gives free upgraded account to newsroom. That's one. Even if you are using the free account, right, without upgrade, right, is good enough. Okay, you can make a lot of charts using the free account, and it has good tutorial, and also a lot of people use it. Okay, so which means that if you can't do something, you just online and search and Google for it, you will most likely find answers to your problems. You can also contact the Flourish support group. They are quite responsive. I usually email them. They will get back to me in within 1 day, okay, or the next day. I'm not an agent or making advertisement for Flourish. Just that among all the different online tools, I think this is one of the most powerful and easy to use. Okay, right. So you see that there are different templates here. Right? You can make different types of charts. Okay, from here. Okay, the most common one is here. Basically, bar chart, different horizontal or vertical bar chart, pie chart, and also line chart. Okay, then you can make different maps. Okay, these are the different maps. You can make scatter plot. Okay. more 3D maps here. And there are some customized special charts like this one. This is called a parliament chart, right? To show the distributions of seats in parliaments by different parties. Okay, so today I'm going to make a chart to show the mobility of your community or your society during the pandemic, right? Remember that last week I showed you the Google mobility report, right? This is the website, right? The Google mobility report. I'll just put in the chat box so that if you want to access, you can access, right? And if you go here, search for one country, I search for Singapore. You would download here, you get a PDF file, right? I'll just show you the PDF file. It looks like this. Okay, so we want to make a chart like this, okay, using the data, right? But not just from May 15 to 26 June. We want to make the chart from the very beginning, February last year, when the pandemic began. Okay, so in this case, right, I don't have to download the PDF. I can just download the region CSV. Region CSV, right, it has one CSV for each country. Don't download the global CSV. Global CSV means that all the data for all countries are in a single file, and the file is like 500 megabytes big. You cannot open it with Excel because it exceeds the limit of Excel. So you download region CSV, it will give you a zip file, and then in the zip file, there are lists of, you can see there are lists of files for different countries, right? Each country in one file, right? I open up the Singapore file, SG, right? And this is the data that I got, right? Singapore, and then the date. You can ignore all this thing, okay? For some countries, right, a huge country, they have like sub-region data as well, okay? For example, for Malaysia, you have data for Kuala Lumpur, data for Selangor, data for Sabah, Sarawak, different, okay? For Singapore, you only have one data, right? And the data has 6 different categories, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? The first is retail and recreation, grocery and pharmacy, parks, transit stations, workplaces, residential. Residential means that people stay at home, right? And these are the date, right? So at different day, these are the mobility of Singaporean, okay? Or people live in Singapore, right? Until the latest is until, this is for 2020. So there's a 2021 report. The latest is until 26th of June, okay, 4 days ago. All right. This is the percentage, okay? It is called percentage change from baseline, okay? Which means, compared to normal times, pre-pandemic, right? What is the relative movement of people in Singapore, okay? So if I clean up the data, I remove all this columns that I don't need, I just keep here, right? I will get data like this. Okay, I have shared with you this folder, or let me just share with you this file. In the folder, you can see your homework for last week. And you can also straight away go to this file. Everybody please go to this file, we'll make the chart together, okay? I remove all the irrelevant columns. So I only have date and all the 6 categories, right? Retail, grocery, parks, transit stations, workplaces, home, right? And these are the percentage, right? Okay. These are the percentage, compared to pre-pandemic time. Okay. You can read more about, how they get the data, how they got the data, how they calculate the data from here. Okay. There is what's the community report, learn more about the data, or you can read about all the details here. And I do think that you should read if you want to use the data for your news report, right? Okay, everyone in this here? Okay, cool. So we have data until 26th of June. Okay, so now we are going to plot it into a chart, because looking at the data here, right, it's very hard to imagine, right? When do people travel more? When do people travel less, right? If we are able to produce to make it into a chart, right, it would be more helpful like this, right? if you're able to make it into a chart, then we'll be able to see, right, the difference at different times. So we are going to use Flourish for that purpose. Okay. So go to Flourish after you have logged into your account. Click New Visualization, New Visualizations, and select Line Chart. Line chart, because we're going to we want to show changes over time, right? So changes over time, the best way to visualize that is to use a line chart. Okay, everyone see this? So first give it a name, right? SG mobility report COVID. All right. Then Flourish, right? The good thing about Flourish is that it has a dummy, it has some dummy data here, right? This is like the data they put in. Okay. Why they put the data here is because you'll be able to know this is how you should arrange your data, right? The time should be in the first column, year, in this case is year, and the data should be in other columns, okay? So if your data like this, then you'll be able to get a chart like this, right? So every time you choose a template, it will show you some dummy data, right? So of course, we need to replace the data here with our own data. But we have to make sure that our data is arranged in this format, right? The first column should be the dates or the times, and the other column should be the data for different categories, right? If you only have one category, then it's only A and B, all right? Only have one line, right? So let's go back to our data here. So guys, you don't edit the data here, yeah? You can copy the data using Control A and Control C to copy, right? If you're on a MacBook, then it's Command A, Command C, okay? Command A means select all, Command C means copy, okay? After you copy the data, go back here, you need to paste your data, right? So how do you paste your data? First, you need to remove your data. How do you remove your data? It works like a Excel or a spreadsheet, right? You click Control A, select everything, okay? And you just click delete or backspace to delete. So now it's empty, right? Now it's empty. We are going to copy the data here, okay? And go to the first cell, A1, and paste the data. Okay, so now your date is in column A. Now you have B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, I'll give you some time to copy paste your data. If you need me to do it, let me know in the chat box. I can redo it. Okay. Everybody, please do it together so that you at least you have experience of using Flourish. Next time you will use it, you won't be you won't feel like intimidated, like, oh, I never used it before, right? Okay, done. Anybody has any problem? Let me know as well. If you want me to show you again, I can show you again. We are almost there. Make a chart is like only a few only a few minutes if you have the data ready. Okay. So now, if you look at data, if you look at preview, right? If you click on preview, you see that there are lines here already, right? But 1, 2, 3, 4. How come there are only 4 categories? Where are the other 2 categories? The other 2 categories are here, right? Workplaces and home. Those 2 are not in the chart. Because why? Because you did not select them. So you need to include these 2 columns in your data, right? So this is where we should look at the menu here, right? So you see that labels time is column A here. And you see the color is the same. Pink color, okay? For values, right, it says here says B to E because it follows the first dummy data when we first started, right? So it's B to E. So it's B, C, D, E. But our data includes F and G, right? So we need to change B to E to B to G. Okay. So once we do that, you'll see that these 2 columns become purple color. It's the same color as this. Okay. And now if you go back to preview, you will see we have all 6 categories here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So now all our data are in, they appeared correctly here. And the next thing we need to do is to style our chart, right? To change the color, to make it, nicer, and to highlight the information that we want to deliver. Okay. So here, the first thing is that I think the line, the thickness of the line is too high. I want to make it thinner. Okay. So how do you do that? This is the menu, right? That allows you to style your chart. Okay. So I'm going to go to lines, dots, and areas. The width, you can see the width, right? 0.2, right? Under lines, right? I could change it to 0.1. Now it's thinner. Okay, cool. And then just now I show you, like, if you don't want to have all the lines here, right, you can actually do grid of chart. Looks like this. Right? Of course, you can change the height, everything, right? But this one will allows you to see like the lines, separately. Okay, but I think in this case we should stick with single chart. Okay. Then you want to change the height of the chart, the ratio. You can choose fill space, aspect ratio, and you can change it from there, right? Right. Then you can play it, right? You change everything here, you will not break your data. Your data is still here. You won't change your data. It just change the appearance of your chart. Okay. So let's say I want to highlight home. Okay. Maybe not home, maybe workplace, right? I just want to highlight workplace, right? So I can go to color. I can change the color here. You see, now it follows the first 6 colors on the palette, right? If I change to another palette, you see what happens? The color will change, right? Okay. But now I want to use my custom color. Custom color means that, I want my own color. So you have to write here, right? So first write the category that you want to change. I'm just going to copy here. It's easier. Okay, I'm going to put it here. Okay, you need to write each category in different line. Okay, so each, or if you're not sure, you can just browse, mouse over the question marks here, right? So I'm going to do, I need a gray color. So I can find like gray color. Okay, hex code. Hex code is a 6 code that I told you, right? So this is, you just click on any, gray color page, you'll be able to adjust. This is 808080, the color looks like this. Okay. So let's say I want a lighter gray. Let's say this is called CCC, okay, the hex code. So I use CCC for retail and recreation. So again, you put the category, column, and the hex code. Okay, now you see the retail and recreation become gray color, right? Then grocery, I'm going to put the same color as well. You see now everything become gray color, right? Because I just want to highlight home, right? So for home, I'm going to put probably red color from here. Let's say I want this red, right? I want this red, I'll just copy the hex code here and I'll put it here. And now I only highlighted 1 line. Okay. So now all are gray color, right? So it's very hard for me to see them, right? But that is the purpose, right? If that is your editorial decision, you just want to highlight home, and others you don't want the readers to pay too much attention, but you still want to have them as a comparison, right? But it doesn't matter whether which line is parked or transition, you can do like this. Or in another case, maybe I want to highlight home and workplaces, right? Whether you go to home, you go to work, or you work from home, right? Then I can do the same thing for the color, colors here. So I will change, let me pick another color. say I want to put the blue color, okay? And I would go to workplace and change the code here. Now I only have home and workplaces, okay? Let me see if I can change the legend. Okay, so there are a lot of things that you can change here to change the legend, whether you want to appear at the top or at the bottom, or you want to label it on the lines here, right? You can change all those things, right? But I won't show you here, we don't have enough time. But this is how you can change the color, okay? And just to have a look, analyze the chart here, right? You can see that there are some days where we don't go to workplace at all. Right. Again, this is this is 0, this is percentage, yeah. So this is compared to pre-pandemic time. It starts from February 15th until 26th of June this year. February 15th is last year, right? So if you look at the some of the, like this is 12th of February. You know why people don't go to workplaces and stay at home, right? Because this is the first day of the Chinese New Year. Okay. And I think there's also the first, this is New Year. This is the first day, January 1st of 2021. You can see that people stay at home, don't go to work. And this is the Christmas, right? These are all public holiday, I believe, right? So if you were to compare like the first lockdown and the second lockdown and the current lockdown, right? How do you compare that? That's one way of doing that is that you can color the zone here so that it tells you this is a special period. You can do that by using annotation, right? Show highlights on the x-axis. And then let's say I'm going to put in range highlight, okay? So let's say lockdown. I just made it up, yeah, guys. I'm not sure about when the lockdown in Singapore, but I'll be just going to pick it down, pick it up, yeah. Oh, let's say 3rd of now you see that, okay? So if I put in this again, if you don't remember how to type this, it just goes to the mouse over, it will have some instruction for you, okay? So basically you put in lockdown and then the starting date until the end date, you're able to color this zone. You can of course change the color, okay? Right, you can change the opacity as well, right? See darker. I have to change the color. Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah, now it becomes a different color. So you can change everything, right? All the color, the styles and things like that, right? But this is just to show you that then you can then put a label here. See, there's a label here, lockdown. You can change the position of the label. It's too long. In that case, we can put it. You can play with it, whether you want it vertical, and then okay. So the font weight you can change, right? Right now it has been cut off because it's too long. So you might want to change the style to show that, right? So you can then compare with different period. Let's say this is the first lockdown, there's another lockdown here, you can compare with here as well. Okay, so this is how you can make a very quick visualizations using Flourish. And the last thing is that are you going to embed it on your website? Okay, so you just have to click on export and publish. Okay, publish to share and embed, right? And click publish. After that, there's a link for you to send the chart to your colleagues, to your editors, right? Getting their feedbacks and things like that, right? you can then use this embed option. There are 3 different embed options. Depends on which one is accepted by your CMS or your website. If you're using a WordPress, right? Usually we use Iframe, right? This is the code where you can put into your website, and this chart will appear on your website. So let me just try it using one Codepen, a website called Codepen. Codepen is basically just for us to test our embed code, right? I'll just put it here, the embed code, right? And I'll see the chart here. This is what you will get on your website. Yeah, right. And it is mobile responsive, meaning that if you have a small screen, it looks like this. If you have a big screen, it looks like this. All right. So it's mobile responsive. Okay, cool. This is how you can embed it, right? If you want to, you just want a static image, right? You don't want to have interactive, because this is interactive. Your users can mouse over and look at all the data, right? If you want it to be a static image, right, you can also download image, right? And you will get a static image. Let me show you. Download. This is what you get. This is a PNG file. Okay, so it's very easy to use Flourish, and this is how you can make a data visualization. Some other thing is that you can actually put in, you can actually change your pop-up. Pop-up is this dialog box. Okay, you can change the details inside, or you can also put in title, header for your chart. Okay, and subtitle, and also the most important one is a footer. Footer is usually where we put our source. Okay, Google mobility report, right? We can even put a link to the chart. Okay, now you see there's a source, Google mobility report, and this is a hyperlink, so your user know where did you get your data for this chart. All right, so this is how every time when you want to update your chart, you make the changes here, you just have to click export and publish and republish. The code is the same, so you don't have to copy the code and put into your website again. If you have embed them in your website, right? When you make the update here, you click republish, that all the embedded charts on your website will be updated. So you don't have to, if you embed the same chart in 5 different websites, right? You don't have to go one by one to update them. You just have to update the master chart here. You click republish, that all the 5 charts will be updated. All right, as simple as that. And after you have done, you go out, you'll see your chart here, right? All the charts that you have created are here. So anytime you can go into and update it and make changes, right? Once you save it, it will be reflected in all the charts that you have embedded. All right, as simple as that. Cool. Thanks for staying 5 minutes over. So the last thing that I want to show is that there are more data visualization tools out there. Everbase Data Wrapper. These are the 2 very simple ones. If you find Flourish to be too complicated, too powerful, you want a very bare bone, simple tools, you can use Data Wrapper. Okay, and the other tools, you have time, you can play with them. Some of them are very interesting. And I also included some newsletters. If you want to keep yourself updated about the latest developments in data journalism world, then these are some of the networks that you have, some of the newsletters that you can subscribe to, right? You'll be able to see the latest, things in data journalism. There are also some tutorials here. All of them are free, and they are all, online webinars, online courses, right? That you can take at your own pace to learn more about data journalism, right? So for today, the slides can be downloaded from this link. I'm going to put a link in the chat box as well. All right, so that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, King. This brings to an end, actually, the series of 3 data journalism webinars that King has been presenting. The first one was on finding reliable data sources. The second one was on data story recipes, and this one is about data visualization. The recordings will be and are actually available on this playlist over here that I've just shared as well, and you will be receiving an email with all the related links. So thanks for attending this session. This series of webinars on all things data related is brought to you by Google News Initiative.